Hello, people. Hello. Today I wanted to make a small comment on Stanley Kendall, one famous predator that, were it not for a technicality and a corrupt prosecutor, he would be a sex offender today and he would have served time in jail. But I kind of get Texas. It's a lot about Constitution. If you say American Constitution to me, the first word that comes to my mind is Texas. I think this is the state where they apply the Constitution the most, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not trying to say that it's not cool, but in the Constitution you have a lot of protection, like ways to admit evidence, way to due process and all that, which is good. It's a good thing. And because of the pedosecutor that killed himself, the prosecutor said basically it could taint the evidence. We're not going to prosecute. That's not the proper way to do sting operation. And, due process and all that is violated. So we're not going to prosecute those guys. But let's face it. This guy deserves to be a sex offender for the rest of his life. Let's face it. Do we agree on that? Do we agree that Stanley Kendall, he solicited a little kid for sex, a little boys? He had the chat where we know a small extract about sucking nipples and lying and dicks and whatever. That guy solicited a minor for sex. He showed up at his house. So he did what hundreds of other men did on To Catch a Predator. Yet, he's not convicted. No criminal conviction. He never went to jail. He's not a sex offender, blah, blah, blah. The news here is that he was fired after his arrest resurfaced. So he used to be a substitute teacher for a school district. Somebody figured out it was him. I'm not sure how nobody noticed before, but I would notice right away. If I was in high school and I see that guy teaching, I would say, oh my God, where in the Bible does it say that you want to suck little boy's dick? So anyway, the details emerged. That's what the news is about. I don't want to put too much. But basically, he was fired. And the question to you I have today is it fair? And now they're saying that guy shouldn't teach anymore and he was fired because he wasn't To Catch a Predator. Is it fair though? The guy was never convicted of a crime. It's not like all those stuff against him, those are allegations. We don't know. He didn't have a trial. Maybe he would have pled not guilty in a trial and maybe he would have been found not guilty by a jury. Some men did when it comes to Catch a Predator. So when they fired him based on what? Based on, you were shown on To Catch a Predator, so we fire you. It's kind of unfair, I think, I know he's guilty. To me, it's pretty obvious he's guilty. But if you want to respect the due process and the presumption of innocence, we have that stuff, We have a presumption of innocence. You cannot fire him because there's no definite proof that he's guilty. There is no proof that he definitely did solicit a kid for sex. So to me, the fact that he was fired, it's an injustice. Because maybe he's completely innocent. Maybe he did nothing wrong. Now you might be thinking this. Let's say it's your little boy going to school. Would you want your little boy to have this guy as a teacher? And the answer is, of course not. Of course not. I'm not dumb. So I think overall we should really admit that the presumption of innocence is a bunch of bullshit. We don't presume men innocent until they are convicted. We presume them guilty until they are acquitted. And if they're not acquitted, if the charges are dropped, then we just assume that they are guilty forever. If Stanley Kendall went to court and he was found innocent, I think he would still be teaching today. Don't you agree? Let's say he goes to court and he presents a defense and he wins. And now he says, okay, I won. The case against me is over. I want to go back to teaching. What right would we have to say no to him? Why should we say no to him? You cannot teach. You were accused of soliciting minors for sex. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. I was acquitted. You see, that's a mistake. I was accused wrongfully. If that happens, we have to let him teach. We cannot just take at face value everything. Otherwise it's not fair. It's basically like you're convicted the moment you're arrested. So all this to say, I think it's grossly unfair that he was fired from his job. But at the same time, given the nature of his crime, given that he's a pedophile, I kind of understand the school district. Even though he did nothing wrong, even though, well, he did something wrong, but he was never convicted for it. I believe, with pedophiles, you don't take chances. That's the number one rule. If everyone on earth could understand that, we would have a better planet and fewer problems. With pedophiles, you just don't take chances. And I think that by showing up to the house, but then again, maybe the news program edited it. It's not a definitive proof. Maybe the boy said he was 23 in the chat log. We don't know that. Maybe Dateline made it up completely. It's hard to say without a due trial, without a due process, So the fact that he was fired, even though he was never convicted and the charges were dropped, I feel he's the victim of an injustice. If I was the principal of the school or the leader of the district, I think you have to fight for him. I think you have to stand up for him and say, no, I'm not firing you. And if the parents want to complain, they can complain, but the law is the law. He was not convicted. That's it. At the same time, do you really want to stand up for a pedophile? Of all the people in the world that you could defend, why would it be Stanley Kendall? So interesting dilemma. I hope you appreciated my analysis. Let me know what you think.